Hello and welcome to Clearview Television. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. First, the headlines. Supreme Court overturns conviction of former Abia State Governor Senator Orji Uzor Kalu over alleged corruption involving 7.65 billion naira. Concerns over influx of people into Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory despite government's ban on interstate movement over coronavirus care. Authorities in Indian state of Maharashtra order investigation after 16 people were run over by a freight train. I am Halima Abdulrauf. The Supreme Court has overturned the conviction of former Abia State Governor Senator Orji Uzor Kalu. Justice Ejembieko, who delivered the Apex Court's ruling this Friday, vacated the lower court's judgment and ordered a fresh trial of Kalu and the other defendants.
Senator Orji Uzor Kalu was convicted by the Federal High Court in Lagos in December 2019 after he was arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). The anti-graft agency has slammed him with a 39-count charge for diverting a total sum of 7.65 billion naira belonging to the Abia State government when he was governor between 1999 and 2007. Justice Mohammed Idris, who declared him guilty of the 39-count charge, sentenced him to 12 years in prison. The Director of Finance and Accounts at the Abia State Government House during Kalu's tenure, Ude Udeogu, was also sentenced to 10 years in prison. Slug Nigeria Limited, Kalu's company, was also convicted last year as the court ordered its assets forfeited to the federal government. However, while ruling on an appeal by the defendants this Friday, the Supreme Court overruled the conviction because Justice Idris was no longer a judge of the Federal High Court at the time he delivered the judgment on the case whose trial lasted for 12 years. Justice Idris had been elevated to the Court of Appeal before the conviction and sentencing of the accused persons, based on a fiat issued by the Court of Appeal President, pursuant to Section 396, subsection 7 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, to allow him deliver the judgment. However, the 7-member panel of the Supreme Court this Friday thought otherwise and unanimously ruled that the fiat was unconstitutional, noting that Justice Idris lacked the powers to return to sit as a High Court judge after his elevation to the Court of Appeal. Justice Ejembieko, who delivered the Apex Court's ruling, vacated the lower court's judgment and ordered a fresh trial of Kalu and the other defendants. The case will now be reassigned by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. In his immediate reaction to the Apex Court's ruling, Senator Kalu in a statement thanked the Supreme Court for its unwavering commitment to the rule of law. In his words, despite some moments of distraction and mass hysteria, the Nigerian Supreme Court has remained a veritable compass to the highest ideals of justice attainable in this country. This long tradition of the court was exemplified in today's judgment. I was humbled by the court's boldness and sense of justice as shown in my case. The former governor noted that his story proved that initial injustice done can be caught and ultimately corrected by the nation's judicial system. He therefore promised to dedicate himself to ensuring that other people innocently trapped in the nation's prison system get fair justice like him. He said, "A system whereby over 70% of all prison inmates' population is made up of people awaiting trial cannot be allowed to continue. Situations where innocent people are falsely charged with murder just to get them out of the way do not dignify our country and cannot continue. Justice must now mean justice for all. That is my pledge to Nigerians." Kalu is currently representing Abia North in the Nigerian Senate after securing victory in the 2019 elections on the platform of the All Progressives Congress (APC).
Lead counsel to Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, Solo Akuma, says the Supreme Court judgment nullifying the 12-year prison sentence of former Abia State Governor is a landmark judgment. Akuma, a senior advocate of Nigeria, said this in an interview with Clearview TV while reacting to the judgment. Our correspondent Utang Okaba has the details.
Reacting to the Supreme Court judgment, the lead counsel to Senator Orji Uzor Kalu says it is a landmark judgment.
Our reaction is very positive. Positive in the sense that the judgment of today could be described as a landmark judgment. It is a judgment that settled once and for all the position whereby a justice of the Court of Appeal can leave his exalted position and move down to the Federal High Court to continue and conclude a part-hard criminal matter. That is what this judgment settled once and for all. The second point is that this judgment tried to make it clear that the President of the Court of Appeal cannot and has no power to assign a case to a justice of the Court of Appeal, for that Court of Appeal justice to go to High Court and try a matter, thereby usurping the responsibility, the statutory power of the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. And by this judgment, it has been made clear that you cannot be a justice of the Court of Appeal and also be a judge of the High Court. There is nothing like one being a hybrid judge. In one aspect, you are a justice of the Court of Appeal. In another aspect, you are a judge of the High Court. These are what this judgment set out to do. And it also came down heavily on Section 396, subsection 7 of the Administration of the Criminal Justice Act 2015, and declared it inconsistent with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And to the extent of that inconsistency, that Section 396, subsection 7 was declared void by the Supreme Court.
The senior advocate of Nigeria said the judgment has cleared the air on the powers of the Court of Appeal.
Well, it has made it clear because with the provisions of that Section 396, subsection 7, people still were of the view that the President of the Court of Appeal can issue a fiat for a judge, a Court of Appeal justice, to go and handle a matter. So this thing has made it clear, and it has also shown that the President of the Court of Appeal cannot assign any case to any judge of the Federal High Court or to a justice of the Court of Appeal to move down to go and do a matter. So it will serve as a guide both to the Chief Judge of Federal High Court and also to President of the Court of Appeal. If EFCC rearranges, then a new trial will start. But for now, before that, they will be released, because that judgment and the proceedings of Justice of the Court of Appeal has been declared null and void. So there is no basis for holding them in prison confinement.
Former Abia State Governor Senator Orji Uzor Kalu was slammed with a 39-count charge for fraud amounting to 7.65 billion naira when he was governor. He was in 2019 convicted by a Federal High Court in Lagos following his arraignment by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). He was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment by Justice Idris Mohammed. Not satisfied with the judgment, the former Abia State governor headed to the Supreme Court, demanding the setting aside of the judgment. By Friday's Supreme Court judgment, Senator Kalu once more has been set free and asked to go home. Also freed was the Director of Finance and Accounts, Ude Udegu, who bagged a 10-year jail sentence.
Also, reactions have been trailing the Supreme Court judgment which nullified the conviction of Orji Uzor Kalu as soon as the news of the Supreme Court judgment filtered into Igbere, the country home of Orji Uzor Kalu. The women took to the streets, spontaneously singing and dancing.
Good morning. This is reporting live from Igbere. And these are the women of Igbere celebrating the release of their son, OUK, from prison. And you can see there's joy all over the place. People are rejoicing. Celebration all the way. Our man Orji Uzor is free.
Following the Supreme Court's judgment on Friday that the Federal High Court in Lagos acted without jurisdiction when it convicted Orji Kalu, the former governor of Abia State, has reacted to the court's verdicts. Speaking after the release from the Nigerian Correctional Facility in Kuje, Abuja, sequel to the Apex Court's judgment, Kalu said the past 5 months have been quite a profound period, adding that challenging as the period has been, it has provided him an opportunity to learn invaluable lessons about the country, the people, the justice system, and the true meaning of love for family, love for Nigeria, and love for humanity. He said his case is a true Nigerian story with a bold made in Nigeria stamp on it. It is a story of initial injustice that was caught and ultimately corrected. It is a story of restoration according to Kalu. He has come to know that the course of justice will not be complete if it stops at his case. He said it must continue until it touches the lives of millions of Nigerians who have injustice anywhere in this world. He promised to be dedicating his time henceforth to ensuring there will be justice for all Nigerians, whether they are in Sokoto or Akwa Ibom, or in Lagos or Maiduguri, Jos or Enugu. Wherever they may be, justice for one man or for a few people will no longer be enough in this country. He said a system whereby over 70% of all prison inmates' population is made up of people awaiting trial cannot be allowed to continue. Situations where innocent people are falsely charged with murder just to get them out of the way does not dignify our country and cannot continue. Justice must now mean justice for all, Kalu said. He looks forward to rejoining his colleagues in the Senate as soon as possible. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has said it was ready for fresh and immediate retrial of the former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzor Kalu. EFCC, in a statement by the head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, described the Apex Court verdict as unfortunate. According to the commission, the ruling was a tactical ambush against the trial of the former governor, Orji Uzor Kalu. The statement reads, "The attention of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has been drawn to the judgment of the Supreme Court nullifying the trial of a former governor of Abia State, Orji Kalu, its firms Sloke Nigeria Limited and Jones Odeogu, a former director of finance and account of Abia State's government, and ordering the fresh trial of the lower court. The Apex Court based as its verdict on the grounds that Justice Muhammad Idris, who convicted Kalu and others, have been elevated to the Court of Appeal before the judgment and returned to the lower court to deliver the judgment, which it considered as illegal. The EFCC considers the judgment of the Apex Court as quite unfortunate. It is a technical ambush against the trial of the former governor. The Commission is prepared for a fresh and immediate trial of the case because the evidence against Kalu and others are very overwhelming. The corruption charges against Kalu still subsist because the Supreme Court did not acquit him of them. The entire prosecutorial machinery of the EFCC would be launched in a fresh trial where justice is bound to be served in due course.